DR Congo, security situation remains tense as fighting continues in South Kivu. Welcome to EKCMS-NEWS, your trusted source for news from the Great Lakes region. I'm Babra Miriam, and this is a special report on the latest security developments in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The security situation remains tense in parts of South Kivu despite renewed diplomatic efforts aimed at ending the conflict between the Congolese government and the AFC-M23 coalition. Recent reports indicate that military confrontations have continued in several areas, raising questions about whether current ceasefire arrangements can hold while negotiations continue. Particular attention is focused on the Minembwe highlands, where fighting involving M23 and government-aligned forces has reportedly continued. According to Twirwaneho spokesperson Colonel Rugabo Fdlr, government-aligned forces have been involved in operations against M23 positions in the area. Reports identify elements of the FARDC, Burundian troops, Fdlr fighters, Wazalendo militias, and foreign mercenaries among forces operating against M23. However, because the fighting is occurring in remote and difficult-to-access areas, many battlefield claims remain difficult to independently verify. Recent reports also indicate that M23 forces have resisted attacks in the Minembwe highlands. The area is strategically important because its highlands contain routes connecting different parts of Fizi and South Kivu. There are also reports claiming that M23 has established control over locations including Rubarati and Malimba. EKCMS-NEWS has not independently verified these territorial control claims. Another major concern is the reported direction of M23 movements toward Uvira, an important commercial and transport center on the western shore of Lake Tanganyika. Any further military pressure toward Uvira would be closely watched because of the city's strategic importance and its proximity to Burundi. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts have continued. On August 23, the DRC government and AFC-M23 reportedly agreed on an implementation roadmap for peace talks, aimed at reviving the stalled Doha peace process. The roadmap is expected to provide practical steps and timelines for advancing negotiations and addressing the conflict through political means. On August 24, ceasefire monitoring efforts reportedly continued, with teams being deployed to eastern Congo. Monitoring efforts have also focused on areas around the Minembwe highlands. The objective is to document possible ceasefire violations, improve communication between the parties, and help prevent further escalation. But maintaining a ceasefire in an active conflict zone remains a major challenge. For civilians, continued fighting means displacement, disrupted healthcare and education, damaged livelihoods, and reduced humanitarian access. Rwanda, transition to our reporter. Now, let's hear from our reporter, Chris Johnson, with the latest developments from Rwanda.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm Chris Johnson, reporting for EKCMS-NEWS from Rwanda. Here are the latest developments and the key stories making headlines across the country and the wider Great Lakes region. Rwanda, Kagame delivers new message on DRC, peace, and the Fdlr threat. This is a special report on Rwanda's latest position regarding the security situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo, regional peace efforts and the threat posed by the Fdlr. Rwandan President Paul Kagame has delivered a new message on the security situation in the Great Lakes region, stressing that Rwanda will continue to remain engaged on the issue of Eastern DRC until what Kigali considers the threat posed by the Fdlr is addressed. Speaking to journalists in Kigali on August 24, Kagame accused the government in Kinshasa of maintaining links with Fdlr fighters and using them as part of forces aligned with the Congolese government. The Congolese government has rejected allegations of collaboration with the FDLR and has repeatedly disputed Rwanda's accusations regarding its security policies and military activities in eastern Congo. Kagame's latest comments come at a critical moment, as diplomatic efforts to end the conflict in eastern DRC continue. The peace process involves several international and regional actors, including the United States, Qatar, Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of Congo and AFCM-23. However, despite diplomatic progress, implementation remains difficult, with continued fighting and disagreements over security arrangements, ceasefire violations, and the presence of armed groups continuing to complicate the process. For Rwanda, the FDLR issue remains one of the central security concerns. Kigali maintains that the presence of the armed group near Rwanda's border represents a direct security threat and that addressing the group is essential for achieving lasting peace in the region. The FDLR has historical links to perpetrators of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, and Rwanda has repeatedly called for the group to be dismantled. At the same time, Rwanda continues to emphasize the importance of regional cooperation. In remarks connected to the International Conference on the Great Lakes Region, EKCLR, Kagame stressed that security and public health challenges affecting the Great Lakes region require collective action and stronger cooperation among countries. The message comes as the wider region continues to deal with armed conflict, population displacement, humanitarian emergencies, and cross-border security concerns. Meanwhile, Rwanda is also continuing to focus on economic development. The government has set a budget of approximately 7.796 trillion Rwandan francs for the 2026-27 financial year, with priorities including agriculture, employment, and economic stability. Rwanda has also continued to strengthen international cooperation in development. The government and the European Investment Bank have signed an agreement worth approximately 65 million euros aimed at strengthening the resilience of communities around the volcanoes region. Other agreements with the European Union are focused on climate-resilient agriculture and sustainable development. These economic initiatives are taking place alongside Rwanda's continued diplomatic engagement over the crisis in eastern DRC. For the Great Lakes region, therefore, attention remains focused on Kigali, Kinshasa, and the conflict zones of eastern Congo. The major question now is whether diplomatic efforts can reduce tensions, address the security concerns raised by the different parties, prevent further military escalation and ultimately produce a lasting political settlement. Burundi. Security and political pressures raise new concerns ahead of 2027. In Burundi continues to face a number of security and political challenges, with the government of President Evariste Ndayishimiye dealing with threats from armed groups, political pressure, and significant economic difficulties. One of the developments being closely monitored is the reported re-emergence of the FNL, an armed rebel movement associated with General Aloys Nzabampema. Reports in August indicate that the group has once again called for an armed struggle against the government of President Ndayishimiye. The development has raised concerns about the possibility of renewed political and military instability in Burundi, particularly at a time when the country is already facing economic pressure and regional security challenges. The situation is also being closely watched along Burundi's border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. The continuing conflict in eastern DRC has had consequences for Burundi, particularly through the movement of people fleeing violence. Thousands of Congolese civilians have crossed into Burundi seeking safety, placing additional pressure on humanitarian services and communities in border areas. The security situation along the border is therefore becoming increasingly important for Burundi, especially as fighting continues in parts of South Kivu. Politically, Burundi is also entering an important period ahead of the 2027 elections. The government has already begun preparations for the electoral process, while President Ndayishimiye has emphasized the importance of maintaining stability and security during the elections. However, the political environment remains an area of concern. Analysts and observers continue to monitor the position of opposition groups and the broader political space in Burundi. Recent reports have also raised concerns about arrests and pressure against individuals accused of posing a threat to the government or the ruling political establishment. These developments are likely to remain under close scrutiny as Burundi moves closer to the 2027 electoral period. The economic situation is another major challenge. Burundi continues to experience difficulties related to fuel shortages, foreign exchange constraints, and rising prices, all of which have affected ordinary citizens and businesses. Limited access to foreign currency can make it more difficult for businesses to import essential goods, while fuel shortages can increase transportation costs and put additional pressure on household expenses. Despite these challenges, the Burundian government continues to seek international cooperation in areas including agriculture, energy, communications, and investment. Burundi has also continued to emphasize its role in regional security and peace initiatives across the Great Lakes region. For Burundi, therefore, the coming period will be important. Attention is now focused on three major issues: the reported return of the FNL, security along the DRC-Burundi border, and preparations for the 2027 elections. If the security situation deteriorates further, the consequences could extend beyond Burundi itself. The country occupies a strategically important position in the Great Lakes region, sharing borders with Rwanda, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Any major deterioration in Burundi's internal security could therefore have implications for regional stability, cross-border movement, and the wider peace process in the Great Lakes. We will continue to monitor developments in Burundi and across the region, bringing you updates as credible information becomes available.
Uganda, Museveni government faces new governance and economic pressures. And this is a special report on the latest developments from Uganda. One of the developments currently attracting attention in Uganda is President Yoweri Museveni's decision to direct senior officials at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, URSB, to step aside while investigations into allegations involving corruption and governance continue. According to reports by Chimp Reports, Museveni issued the directive following complaints and allegations concerning administrative procedures and possible corruption involving officials at the institution. For the Ugandan economy, infrastructure development remains particularly important. Better roads and transport networks can reduce the cost of moving goods, improve access to markets, and strengthen Uganda's links with neighboring countries. But the government will also need to balance ambitious development plans with concerns over public borrowing, accountability, and efficient use of public resources. For now, attention is focused on three major areas: the investigations involving URSB officials, the government's infrastructure financing plans, and Uganda's potential role in the proposed international security mission for Gaza. These developments could have implications not only for Uganda's domestic governance and economy, but also for its wider role in regional and international affairs. For EKCMS-NEWS, we will continue to monitor the latest developments from Kampala and across Uganda. I'm Babra Miriam. Thank you for watching EKCMS-NEWS, your trusted source for news from the Great Lakes region.
We have brought you the latest developments from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, Tanzania, and across the wider Great Lakes region. For us at EKCMS-NEWS, our commitment is to keep you informed with important developments in security, politics, the economy, and regional affairs as they unfold. If you found this report useful, please subscribe to EKCMS-NEWS and become part of our growing community. Backhand index pointing right, like this video to support our work. Speech balloon, leave a comment and tell us what you think about the developments we have covered. Mobile phone with right arrow, share this report with your friends, family and others who may be interested in Great Lakes news. Bell, and most importantly, turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest reports and breaking news updates. Stay informed. Stay connected. Stay with EKCMS News. I'm Babra Miriam. Thank you for watching, and from all of us at EKCMS News, we wish you peace and a safe day. EKCMS News, your trusted source for news from the Great Lakes region.